A researcher discovered something about olive oil that changed how we understand food forever. He was working on liquid ibuprofen in a lab and sat down for lunch in Sicily. He took a sip of fresh olive oil and felt that familiar burn deep in his throat. And he stopped, because that burn felt exactly like the ibuprofen he was testing daily. That moment led to one of the most underreported nutrition discoveries of the last 20 years. The compound causing that throat sting is called Oleocanthal, and it works like a natural painkiller. It hits the exact same enzymes in your body that ibuprofen targets every single time. So, I asked myself one question. Am I actually using olive oil the right way right now? The honest answer was no, and that realization pushed me to run a 10-day experiment. 3 tablespoons of high-quality extra virgin olive oil every single day for 10 days straight. No changes to my diet, no changes to my training, just olive oil added consistently daily. What happened to my body over those 10 days genuinely surprised me in the best way. And the mistake I made on day 6 almost destroyed every single benefit I had built. I will walk you through every day. The results, the science, and what you should know. But first you need to understand why real olive oil is nothing like what most people think. When most people hear olive oil, they think salad dressing, pasta, something you cook with occasionally. That is not what high-polyphenol extra virgin olive oil actually is at a deeper level. Real olive oil is closer to a functional medicine than it is to a cooking fat. The PREDIMED study followed over 7,000 people across multiple years with 3 different dietary groups. One group ate a Mediterranean diet with 4 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil every day. Another group followed a Mediterranean diet with mixed nuts, and the third group ate low-fat. The olive oil group lost more fat than the low-fat group. Yes, the group eating more fat. They also showed bigger reductions in waist circumference, which directly measures dangerous visceral organ fat. Then a newer study in Frontiers of Nutrition looked at over 16,000 adults across different habits. People who consumed 2 tablespoons of olive oil 6 days a week had smaller waists consistently. Their average waist was 35 inches. The irregular consumers averaged 39 inches in comparison. That is a 4-inch difference in waistline based purely on how consistently someone used olive oil. 4 inches, not from dieting harder, not from extra workouts, just from consistent daily olive oil use. So I decided to stop reading about it and actually run the experiment on my own body. Day 1, I poured 1 tablespoon into a small glass and honestly stared at it too long. Drinking straight olive oil first thing in the morning felt completely unnatural and a little intimidating, honestly. The texture is heavier than water, and that peppery burn hits the back of your throat immediately. That burn is not a bad sign. That is the Oleocanthal doing exactly what it should do. I spaced my 3 tablespoons out, morning on empty stomach, mid-afternoon, then early evening before dinner. By the 3rd dose, my stomach felt a little heavy, like my gut was trying to adjust. I went to bed wondering if I was doing this right or just making things harder for myself. Day 2 brought some bloating, slightly lower energy during my workout, and a moment of real doubt. Around 3 in the afternoon, I genuinely thought about stopping and calling the whole thing a mistake. But I knew what was happening physiologically. Your gallbladder releases bile to break down incoming dietary fat. Your liver has to recycle that bile. Your gut microbiome has to adjust to the new pattern. That adjustment period in the first 48 hours can feel uncomfortable before things start improving noticeably. I held the line. 3 tablespoons on schedule, drank extra water, went to bed earlier than usual. Day 3 is where everything shifted, and I want you to pay very close attention right here. I woke up before my alarm, eyes opened, and I immediately noticed my energy felt completely different. Then I stepped on the scale out of curiosity, and I was down 2.5 pounds. My face looked less puffy, My shorts felt slightly looser around the waist than just days before. Now some of that was water weight. But here is the real mechanism behind what was happening. Extra virgin olive oil at this dose has been shown to lower blood sugar after meals significantly. One study showed that just 10 grams of olive oil with a meal-cut glucose spikes by 20%. When your insulin stops spiking and crashing all day, your cravings stop running the show entirely. That afternoon slump you feel every day, gone by day 3 for me. Completely and noticeably gone. That urge to snack between meals just to keep your energy up, that also disappeared around day 3. The constant mental negotiation your brain does after lunch thinking about dessert, that went quiet too. It felt like someone turned the volume down on my appetite without me trying to control anything. Day 4, the gut discomfort was completely gone. I was eating my normal meals without any changes, but I was naturally eating less. My usual portion looked like too much food without any effort. Day 5, I noticed something during my workout that I was not expecting at all that morning. My joints felt quiet. I am 41 years old. I lift weights and play basketball daily. My elbows and knees usually give me some feedback after heavy training days, not on day 5. That is the Oleocanthal again. It inhibits the same inflammatory pathways that ibuprofen targets in your body. A 2020 study put 23 people with metabolic syndrome on high Oleocanthal olive oil for 2 months. Their inflammatory markers IL-6 and TNF-alpha dropped significantly along with their waist circumference and visceral fat. I was running a 10-day version of that and feeling the results show up in real time. Day 6 is where I made a stupid mistake, and I need you to learn from this one. I had a big dinner. Steak, sweet potato, roasted vegetables, and I ate the whole thing completely. I had skipped my afternoon tablespoon, so I figured I would just take 2 tablespoons right after dinner. Within 40 minutes, I felt like a brick was sitting in the middle of my stomach uncomfortably. Olive oil massively slows gastric emptying. That is actually why it helps control blood sugar after meals. But when you stack 2 or 3 tablespoons on top of a heavy meal, it slows too much. The lesson is this: timing is not optional. It is the entire reason the protocol actually works properly. Morning on empty stomach, mid-afternoon between meals, evening before dinner. Space them out every single day consistently. Do not double up. Do not take it right after a large meal. That is where people go wrong. Day 7, I checked the scale again. Down 4 pounds from where I started 10 days earlier. I was not in a calorie deficit. I was not tracking anything. I was not trying to diet. What was happening is that the fat between meals was triggering real satiety hormones in my body naturally. Cholecystokinin, peptide Y, leptin. These are the same GLP-1 signaling pathways everyone talks about with Ozempic. You can trigger those same pathways with the right olive oil at the right time for free. Inflammation was also draining out, and the water retention that comes with inflammation was leaving my body too. Days 8, 9, and 10 were honestly the quieter part. The dramatic shifts had already happened earlier. 3 tablespoons a day was just routine now. I was not even thinking about it consciously anymore. What I noticed in this final stretch was steady, stable energy, even after high-carb meals surprisingly. No afternoon crash, better deep sleep on my tracker, fewer wake-ups throughout the night consistently. My hypothesis is that calming inflammation also calms cortisol, and lower cortisol at night improves sleep quality. Day 10, I stepped on the scale. Down 5.8 pounds, waist down about 1.5 inches. And here is what surprised me most. My appetite stayed lower for 3 full days after stopping completely. Around day 13, it started returning to normal, which told me something real had shifted hormonally inside. This was not placebo. A placebo does not linger for 3 days after you stop the intervention completely. Now here is the part that most people completely miss when they try to do this themselves. Not all olive oil will give you these results. In fact, most olive oil will give you nothing. A Davis study tested 124 imported bottles sold in California supermarkets across brands. Most failed international standards for what extra virgin actually means. Some were diluted with cheaper refined oils. Some were oxidized and rancid, meaning they were doing the opposite of what real olive oil should do. The polyphenols that drive every benefit we talked about drop fast after harvest and accelerate in clear bottles. If your olive oil goes down smooth with no throat burn, that is a sign the polyphenols are gone. Real high-polyphenol olive oil should make you feel that peppery burn, and maybe even make you cough. That burn is your confirmation that the oleocanthal is still active and potent enough to actually work properly. Also worth knowing, high-polyphenol olive oil has been shown in studies to reduce type 2 diabetes risk by up to 51%. And research shows it may increase diet-induced thermogenesis by about 5% compared to other dietary fats. That means your metabolism burns slightly more calories just processing olive oil compared to other fats you eat. Combine that with the appetite reduction and the insulin sensitivity benefits, and the results start making complete sense. If you want to try this protocol, here is exactly what I would recommend starting with right now. Begin with 1 tablespoon every morning on an empty stomach, followed immediately by a full glass of water. Do that for 1 week. Then add a 2nd tablespoon in the mid-afternoon between lunch and dinner daily. In week 3, go to 3 tablespoons. Morning, mid-afternoon, and early evening. Always between meals, not with them. The only rule that matters more than anything else is using real, fresh, high-polyphenol extra virgin olive oil. Go to your kitchen right now, pour a small amount, take a sip, and feel your throat carefully. If it burns and feels peppery, you have a good oil and you are already ahead of most people. If it goes down smooth and tasteless, that oil has lost its polyphenols and will not work properly. 10 days is a short window, but your body will start showing you signals within the first 3 days. Less bloating, more stable energy, quieter cravings, and a body that finally feels like it is working with you.